Conflict in Lebanon spreads to the country's north as what is believed to be an Israeli strike kills 21 people. We have a special report from Gaza where intensifying Israeli military operations are killing dozens of civilians. Israel says it is targeting Hamas fighters. The U.S. and Taiwan condemned China's military drills, which saw Beijing's forces encircle the self-governing island.
In other news, India and Canada expel one another's top diplomats as a dispute over last year's assassination of a Sikh separatist in Canada escalates. And with just 3 weeks to go until the U.S. presidential election, Kamala Harris and Donald Trump hold dueling rallies in the battleground state of Pennsylvania.
Our headlines for you today. Plans to give unemployed people weight loss jabs to help them return to work. The Health Secretary says the treatments could be life-changing for individuals and beneficial for the economy.
Why are so many people out of work? What will help them back? This morning, the latest numbers will tell us the scale of the challenge.
Calls for a ban on smartphones in schools in England reach Parliament as an MP tries to introduce a new law to protect children.
We hear from the Hollywood legend Al Pacino as he looks back on his career and how he is enjoying fatherhood for the fourth time at the age of 83.
Well, it's extraordinary. I've reacted to it as many ways as you could possibly react to it. It's wonderful. You know, I have this little person.
Let's run you through the front of today's newspapers, and many of the front pages this morning dominated by the trial of Irfan Sharif, who's the father of 10-year-old Sarah, who is alleged to have beat his daughter to death. The Guardian has a picture of Sarah and reports that Mr Sharif admitted to having killed his daughter at their home in Surrey in a phone call to police, as was heard in court.
Let's look at the Times. Reeves tells business to prepare for higher taxes. That's their headline this morning, as bosses have warned the Chancellor of anticipated collateral damage to the UK following the proposed rise in employer national insurance contributions.
Carol telling us it's getting a bit warmer. Good news for people in this story. The Daily Star leading with a story suggesting 1 in 3 people have taken refuge in the garden shed just to avoid having to talk to... It says here a loved one, but if you're taking refuge in the garden shed, they're probably not that much of a loved one.
You can love someone and want a bit of space from them.
Yeah, that's true. OK.
And I'm not sure in the shed, though.
How long do you think they stay away for?
Oh, an hour? Half an hour?
The clue was on the screen there.
Oh,
up to 4 hours.
Oh, 4 hours at a time?
1 in 10 scored away.
What are they doing in there?
Hours. Best not to ask.
Yes. We get the final set of figures around unemployment and the UK jobs market this morning before the Chancellor's first budget comes in just over 2 weeks' time. Yeah, the number of people who are off work due to things like long-term sickness is a real problem for the economy. Nina's here with us this morning to explain why, and that number has been pretty stubbornly high, hasn't it?
It's been persistent, yeah. It's partly a hangover from the COVID era, from lockdown, but we don't really know fully why so many people are still out of work. But what we do know is the ramifications for the wider economy are pretty massive, yes. The new government pledged to get people back into the workforce during the election campaign, but it's not a simple process. More than 9 million people are currently not actively employed. Economically inactive is the official term. Now, this figure surged during the pandemic and it has remained persistently high. It now accounts for more than a fifth of the working-age adults and is an increase of 130,000 people compared to a year ago. Now, the number of people classified as long-term sick stands at nearly 3 million people. Why is this happening? Well, there is no one specific reason, but long-term illness, caring responsibilities, early retirement and an increase in poor mental health among the young are some of the factors that have been cited. Now, the Office for Budget Responsibility, that's the independent body that's set up by the Treasury, estimates that the cost of sickness and disability benefits will increase by £30 billion over the next 5 years.
A cyclist in his 60s has died after a collision with a lorry in Brixton. It happened yesterday afternoon on Mervyn Road. The man was pronounced dead at the scene. His next of kin have been informed. The Met says the driver of the lorry stopped and assisted officers with their inquiries. New figures show a fifth of over 50s are living in poverty in London, higher than any other part of England. The charity Age UK London says 127,000 pensioners are eligible for pension credit but are not currently receiving it. The government says it's urging people to check their eligibility to secure the winter fuel payment. Teenagers from Hackney have designed emojis to include black and mixed race hairstyles to improve representation. Community support group Rise 365 says there are almost 4,000 emojis, but none had afro and cornrow hairstyles. They plan to submit their icons next year to the consortium, which approves or rejects new designs annually. Today sees the launch of the 1,000-mile swim challenge for children in need. Every BBC local radio station will be swimming their share of 1,000 miles. Part of the BBC Radio London team are taking part, with some finding it more challenging than others.
Take the air that you need and then roll back down into the water.
My husband can swim, my 6-year-old daughter can swim. I can't do more than 10 metres, but I think through these lessons, you're going to follow my journey and I'm going to get better and better.
If you'd like to find out more and support the swim teams for BBC Children in Need, go to bbc.co.uk/swim.
At 6, the US gives Israel 30 days to significantly boost humanitarian aid into Gaza or risk having some military assistance cut off. It comes after more than a week of intensifying attacks on northern Gaza. The UN says thousands are trapped without food or other supplies. Also tonight, a court hears distressing details of the last few days before 10-year-old Sarah Sharif was found dead and alone at her family house in Surrey. A sharp rise in gang warfare in jail. Overcrowding is blamed for more assaults on prisoners and staff. Obese and unemployed? Could weight loss jabs help people back into work? Nearly half of the rubbish produced in UK homes, including more and more plastic, is being incinerated, a disaster for the climate, say scientists. And the 82-year-old conker champion who's been accused of cheating at the World Championships.
Coping with the cost of living, we look at the impact on 3 groups of Londoners struggling to make ends meet.
I haven't dared put my heating on yet, so it's off completely, so no hot water, no central heating, nothing at the moment.
The silent Sherlock Holmes films, not seen for a century, restored to their former glory. And
Hold your breath, it's going to be very like that, which is awful.
going to great lengths for children in need. Meet the BBC Radio London team taking part in a big swim challenge. A court has heard how 10-year-old Sarah Sharif, who allegedly died at the hands of her father, stepmother and uncle, wore a hijab to hide injuries she received in the lead-up to her death. The jury were told that she began wearing the headscarf 7 months before her body was found at her Surrey family home. Her father, stepmother and uncle all deny murder. Police have launched a murder investigation after a man in his 40s was shot dead in Tottenham. Officers were called to Waltheof Gardens around 9 o'clock this morning. So far, no one has been arrested. And the head coach of Arsenal women's football team, Jonas Eidevall, has resigned after just 3 years in the job. The club are currently 6th in the Women's Super League after winning just one of their opening 4 games of the season.